You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. KAMBWILI says President Edgar Lungu behind privatization inquiry targeting to settle political scores with HH. KANYAMA residents call for an extension of the NRC'S issuance. John Howard residents demand for the immediate reopening of markets. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump and wife test positive for COVID-19. And in sports news, Zambia's BANDA'S third hat-trick takes Shanghai SHENGLI to the top of the table. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
Join us on the 9th of October 2020
for the National Matters Conference in Kitwe. Venue: Living Water Global Church in Wasakile, opposite Wasakile Police Station. Time: 08 hours to 17 hours. Theme: Unlocking Zambia's potential through raising a generation of generational thinkers. Charges: 510 kwacha, lunch inclusive. Please note that any payments done after Wednesday the 7th of October or on the actual day of the event will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha. Speakers will be Dr. Collins Kachaka.
If you have a 3 liters per second, then we say in science that you qualify to get involved in fish farming because you have adequate water.
Dr. Mushalika.
Don't overlisten to people who are happy to see you poor. They don't mean any good for us. There are no people who are developed by others. All people develop themselves.
Dr. Prosper Sievu, Engineer Bernard Chuala.
You are welcome so that we can create a critical mass of participants in the avocado industry. 1 hectare in 12 months will give you no less than 1 million kwacha. Hello?
Mr. Himbai.
You planted a deep-rooted plant into a shallow-rooted. So where is it getting the nutrients? Nowhere. So that plant, it will not give you the potency. You have failed at land preparation.
Mr. Salanda.
All of them lay eggs. You can use them for eggs and also for meat. They lay at least in a year a minimum of, to the lowest, a minimum of 100 chickens each.
All the dyes, all the paints, all the lubricants, they come from a plant called castor. 34% of our medicinal elements, they come from a castor root.
Not forgetting your host, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chidora.
It is unthinkable.
Take note, limited numbers are due to COVID-19 restrictions. Make your payments through Airtel Mobile Money on 0979 75 3010 or on MTN Mobile Money on 0962 382535 or 0962 965883.
Really been impacting on so many levels.
This was really powerful and I'm glad I didn't miss this one.
This conference has been wonderful in the sense that the knowledge that we have acquired within a day is so much overwhelming.
Should this conference come to Western Province, I urge them all to come en masse.
I didn't know that there's potential in me and wealth was lying right where I was.
The way to go right now is agriculture.
The knowledge that we have gathered out of this meeting is immeasurable.
Hurry, don't miss this life-changing conference.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga. National Democratic Congress leader Chishimba KAMBWILI has accused the state of wanting to use the privatization inquiry to fix opposition United Party for National Development UPND President Hakainde Hichilema. Speaking with journalists in Lusaka shortly after his court appearance, Mr. KAMBWILI wonders how some people would be given so much attention by President Edgar Lungu when many Zambians demanding for accountability in the nation have not been given that attention. Mr. KAMBWILI has warned that establishing inquiries for individuals will turn against those behind them as soon as they leave office. We have more in this report.
National Democratic Congress leader Dr. Chimba Kambwili has charged that the Commission of Inquiry over the issue of privatization must not be centered on one's interest but for the benefits of all Zambians. Dr. Kambwili expressed disappointment at the manner in which President Edgar Lungu allowed the student to march to State House and present a petition.
The UPND youths, the NDC youths, 2 days ago applied for a permit to demonstrate and present a petition to the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The permit was rejected. So what is so special about these students who went to State House that where can they even get money to print those t-shirts? And I want to advise you, my President Edgar Lungu, my dear brother, that if you live in grass houses, don't throw stones. These precedents you are setting will catch up with you, will catch up with your ministers. In any case, the corruption that is in this government, the unreasonableness by your ministers, giving out money all the time. Remember that when you are out of power, people also set up a commission of inquiries to find out how you became rich after 1 year of being president, how your ministers have become rich. My dear brother, don't go that route.
Yesterday, a consortium of 10 civil society organizations led by Yali President Andrew Ntewewe marched to State House where they presented a petition of the Commission of Inquiry to look into the privatization of national assets that took place in the 1990s. The president, who addressed the petitioners, assured them that an inquiry will be set.
The will of the people reigns supreme. The will of the people reigns supreme. Section 2 of the Inquiries Act allows me to set up a commission of inquiry.
Meanwhile, Dr. Kambwili has advised the president not to set up a commission of inquiry with an aim of targeting a specific individual.
Nami papa tabalungu mwe wa muntu abamukutwi uwakwebe mfwa yakwano ko mutanshi elo uwakupata tatila kusuma bobe. On this one, my brother, hear the voice of wisdom. Don't set up that commission of inquiries for the sole purpose of fixing one individual in the name of Hagainde Ichilema. You may have hate HH, you may love him, but is your brother, is a Zambian. If this commission was being set with good intentions of just the Zambians knowing what happened in the privatization, it was going to be a good thing. But we all know it's being set up because you want to target one man, and you have already determined and you've already decided what you want to do with HH.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, the opposition United Party for National Development, UPND, has welcomed President Edgar's announcement of setting up a commission of inquiry into the privatization of 288 Zambian companies by the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy MMD government. UPND legal chairman Jack Mwimbu says this inquiry will help to bring an end to the continued innuendos by some political opponents that UPND President Hakainde Hichilema is the one behind the selling of the companies. Mr. Mwimbu also calls for transparency in the process, stating that those who participated must be targeted, including President Edgar Lungu, who played a role as a legal practitioner. He says as a party, they will support the inquiry in totality.
The privatization debate is back, this time in full swing, with President Edgar Lungu telling the nation that he will soon set up a commission of inquiry. The UPND, through its legal chairman Jack Mwimbu, says they are game for the much talked about inquiry, as long as it will be transparent and open to the public.
If this the inquiry is transparent, we'll support it. But if they are going to proceed in the manner they have been proceeding, through their pronouncements, we will not support it. That is one. Two, I've made it very clear that anyone who was involved in this privatization process must answer pertaining to the roles they played.
Mr. Mwimbu hopes that all those who were involved must be made to account, including President Edgar Lungu, who equally participated in the privatization process as a legal practitioner.
It's a fact that the head of state also in his legal profession played a role during privatization. It's a fact. Facts are in public domain. The documents are there with the government and with us in the private sector. It's a fact. There are so many individuals in PF now and other political parties who were involved in this privatization era.
According to him, if not well handled, this whole issue might just injure the already injured Zambian economy.
We have to take caution as a country that our international image, if we don't handle this matter properly, will be dented. Our economy, which is already on its knees, will suffer greatly.
Mr. Mwimbu at the same briefing said the privatization inquiry will bring to an end the debate on who sold the mines.
There have been stories of certain individuals having sold the mines. We are happy that there will be this inquiry. Members of the public will know who sold the mines. Members of the public will know which individual, which company, which organization sold the mines. Who initiated the process of selling the mines?
He just wonders how people who were poor just yesterday are now dishing out money everywhere they go.
The government is broke, but chaps who used to wear slippers 4 years ago are able to donate monies in excess of $1 million at any one given time. Where are they getting the money from?
In conclusion, Mr. Mwimbu says Zambians would also want to know, through an inquiry, the fire tender saga, the FISIP corruption, road contracts saga, and the ambulances saga, whose prices do not tally with the product presented to the Zambian people. Kalan Muchima, reporting for Camnet News in Osaka.
Still on privatization, Vice President Inonge Wina says several companies and individuals participated in the privatization process. Ms. Wina explained that the proposed inquiry is not targeted at any individual as being suggested by some quarters of society. Ms. Wina said this in Parliament during the Vice President's question time. The Vice President was responding to Chikankata Member of Parliament Crispin Mwinga, who wanted to know why the opponents of the inquiry proponents of the inquiry were given state security while other voices are never allowed to express themselves freely on national issues affecting them. Mr. Mwinga wondered why certain citizens from one direction are allowed to do things as they wish while others are not given the same latitude.
Yesterday, we saw people who went to State House demonstrating as they were taking the petition against the privatization that took place. The protestants were given state security, and on top of that, we saw the president anxiously waiting to receive that petition. As opposition, we are equally ready to demonstrate. Our demonstration will be to give solidarity to our president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. What I want to find out from Her Honor the Vice President is, can we equally be given the same security that was offered to those who were protesting yesterday as opposition?
Those that watched that clip of marchers that went to State House and listened to their petitions, I do not remember them ever mentioning a name of an individual. What was presented to His Excellency the President was a petition, a plea to institute a commission of inquiry to look into the issue of the privatization of government institutions that happened in the 1990s and early 2020s. Mr. Speaker, I do not remember hearing the name of Mr. Hakainde being mentioned in that petition. And the privatization exercise, Mr. Speaker, was undertaken by various institutions, including individuals.
GEAR's initiative Zambia is concerned with the recent happenings in the country where citizens and political players have their rights trampled upon by those in authority. GEAR's executive director, McDonald Penzi, says his organization is further deeply worried with the continued acts of violence, prohibited access to public facilities in an unfair manner, and other injustices seem to be the order of the day in Zambia. He says it is further worrying that such acts are on a rise as the country heads towards the 2021 general elections, and if left unchecked, the situation may be out of hand during campaign and election time. He pointed out the arrest of opposition UPND officials in Kasama and the summoning and questioning of opposition leader Neves Mumba by police over allegations of electoral malpractice in the recent by-elections as some of the unfortunate incidences that are evidence of shrinking civil space. Mr. Chpenzi said this during the last series of meetings held in Lusaka Thursday on the shrinking civil space in Zambia.
The arrest of opposition officials and campaign managers and charged with non-bearable offences at the hilt of the campaigns are sure signs of a system trying to shrink the space for equal participation in the electoral process. The failure by law enforcement agencies to enforce the law and the Commission to implement the Electoral Code of Conduct are both signs of the crossing space for the opponents of the governing party ahead of the elections. The blackout of opposition electoral participants by the public media also signaled the exclusion of the opponents of the governing party from effectively communicating and canvassing electoral support from the populace. The summoning of one of the participating party, Dr. Neves Mumba, by the police and ECZ over his highlights of corruption and electoral malpractices during the just-ended by-elections are fairly clear signs of shrinking electoral space ahead of the 2021 general election. Reports of hate speech, partisan traditional leaders coercing their subjects to vote for one party and not the other, intimidation, harassment, denial of gatherings by some other participants, and persecution of other electoral players other than the ruling party have emerged always. These are clear signs of a shrinking political and electoral space, and the outbreak of COVID-19 has just exacerbated the situation of the shrinking space, especially among political players.
And speaking at the same event, Michael Zulu, a human rights activist and artist, says the arts fraternity is not spared in terms of shrinking civil space and called for unity among artists in the country in order to make Zambia a better place to live in.
I know that it will be a challenge because, first of all of a sudden, we have seen initiatives like Artists Empowerment Fund. To some of us who've been in the arts for a long time, we know that these are campaign gimmicks. So nobody can lie to me that this Artists Empowerment Fund is a genuine fund for artists. So if you've noticed, a lot of artists are quiet now. There is just about, I can count the number of artists that are standing up for people's rights with the fingers of one hand. So it's a very challenging situation to get artists back on board. I'll tell you, comrades, personally I've been offered 20 hectares of land to sort of lay back, you know, and encourage other artists not to be so much against the establishment. And these offers we've refused. 20 for me, 20 for my daughter, 20 for my wife. So the challenge is real.
And moving on in other news, the ongoing mobile issuance of national registration cards, NRC'S, in Lusaka has continued to draw huge crowds. In Lusaka's KANYAMA compound, the residents are appealing for an extension of the exercise, saying the days allocated are not enough compared to the many people that are in need of the national document. Miriam Kayemba now reports.
On the 20th of September 2020, government through Minister of Home Affairs Stephen Kampyongo announced the second phase of mobile national registration exercise that will run for 40 days. The program is earmarked to issue 730,000 NRC'S in 5 provinces, which includes Lusaka, Central, Muchinga, Western and Southern. Despite the process reviewing progress in these provinces, members of the community feel more time must be given to allow everyone to obtain an NRC. Camnet TV visited KANYAMA compound, particularly at KANYAMA Central School, one of the places where the exercise of issuance of NRC is done. The residents complained bitterly over the delayment and the process itself. They have disclosed that some of them have visited the center more than twice just for them to obtain an NRC. They have disclosed that KANYAMA compound only has 3 locations where the exercise is being done, and looking at the population of the community, not everyone is catered for.
As you can see, the queues are long. KANYAMA is vast. KANYAMA is too big. What we need is an extension. We've got a lot of people in KANYAMA and a lot of people haven't gotten their NRC'S. So my appeal is that if need be, there should be an extension.
They have since appealed to government to extend more days in order to allow those that have not yet obtained their national registration cards to do so.
Okay, so the ongoing of national registration card, it has been a very challenging one also, because we are also appealing to the Minister of Home Affairs that they can add more days and send more offices, because the offices which are inside, there are more than 6 somewhere, and they have got just only 1 classroom, and you can see the long queues here. So the people are waiting. Some of the people are coming around 05 until evening. Some of them are not getting the NRCs because the long queues, and we have got just 3 registration centers in KANYAMA constituency. Also appealing to the government to add more days, because we don't know if it's today is the last day or tomorrow, because there are so many people who haven't yet gotten their NRCs. So that's our appeal we have gotten.
Meanwhile, it was noted that the exercise was being conducted while as classes were going on, causing a disturbance to school children. Miriam Kayemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
We now take our first set of commercials. Do stay with us as we have more interesting stories lined up for you.
We all miss the days we would play outside, go to school, and visit fun places. But now, we all have to take care to prevent the coronavirus. Viruses are really tiny particles that we can't see with just our eyes, so we need to keep ourselves safe by practicing good hygiene, such as washing our hands with soap and clean water regularly. We can also use hand sanitizer to keep our hands clean. It's also important for us to keep our bodies and surroundings clean. We must also avoid handshakes, hugs, and standing close to other people in public places. This is called social distancing. The coronavirus has affected millions of people around the world, so we need to stay safe. In the meantime, we can keep ourselves busy by reading a book, watching TV, and doing some schoolwork. There's so much we can do indoors. Stay safe, stay home, and prevent COVID-19. We're all in this together.
This advert is sponsored by the Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
I have used Oracle Pure Glycerin for 2 years now. It has really worked for me. It has cleared all the black spots on my face. It has restored my skin beauty. It also smoothens the skin. Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for perfect skin. If it's not Oracle Glycerin, then it's not pure glycerin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customer service at lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. We continue with our news. John Howard residents, especially marketeers, have demanded for the immediate reopening of the John Howard Market, which has been under construction for the past 7 years now. The market is being constructed using the Constituency Development Fund, CDF. The residents tell Camnet TV News that they have run out of patience as they have continued trading from the roadside. They state that over the years they have been assured that the market will be completed the soonest, but up to now nothing positive has come up. But a councillor in Chawama constituency, Kafula Mutale, has assured the residents that the market will soon be commissioned as over 90% of the works have been done.
Naona market yati yangala many years sishitanani sishowinga kuti kapena izasilati wa president watu lero wa EDGAR Chagwarungu benzi wa MP kono pani benzi wa MP wa EDGAR Chagwarungu pali lero ni wa president basayapo basichari unaweve ibintu bisibichitikana bwino but kansela watu naye mukamfunsa hapo kuti nanga vitamangira pati ivi bintu ija market ingala tienda 10 years manja
bwera baso tambekezera market sibwe once kuanza tuna market let's say range inamba before kuno kujona wadi kwambiri che kuma compounds wanasegura market wanapanga before aya manje ise kaya tingala bwanji ndeza peze kamanja ati bambiri wapeze kama streets cause pochtra business yao kuribe
ina bwera naona ko panyuzi sininga tomole maningi mpamula basapana I market wanabura werenga panyuzi ati yankala more than 7 years tisile but wenzo kamba ati izasila this year meaning mu September manje September mwene ili John Howard Market wanga isili mu September at patron September nishwa segura.
Kasempa's Lowofu Ward aspiring candidate Rodney Chilanga has bemoaned the poor state of the Kasempa, Kaoma and the Kasempa Mumbo roads. According to him, government through President Edgar Lungu in 2015, while campaigning in Kasempa, promised the people of the district to tar the two roads, but to date the promise hasn't materialized. Mr. Chilanga explains that as a result, BHL, a company doing mining activities authorities in the district has taken up the rehabilitation works of one of the roads, which is the Kasempa-Kaoma Road. According to him, the road is too narrow, posing a great danger to the traveling public, especially at night. He has also said the dust on the road shatters visibility, which can lead to accidents.
I have decided to take on this route. The reason being is if you look on this road, look at this road, it is an economic road. We've got Jifumpa mine in this area. And not only the mining sector, we've got agriculture activities going on. But again, look at how fast this road is being damaged. Each and every day, we are receiving more than 20 trucks, 30 or even 50 trucks coming from Chambishi mine, collecting copper, taking it to Chambishi for further refinery. They're getting copper concentrate from here. And I believe that this activity, the mining sector, is greatly contributing to the economic, to the treasury, national treasury. But look at the response that is being given, the attention being given to this road. It is more like it is neglected. It's greatly neglected. And the bridges are being brought down. So far, we've got more bridges that have been brought down. There's no repair so far that has been done, apart from just burying that bridge. Who does that? And because it is so quiet and nobody is showing any interest, but we are failing to pass through this road with our small vehicles.
Lawyers representing National Democratic Congress leader Chishimba KAMBWILI have withdrawn their services from him. Mr. KAMBWILI's lead lawyers include Keith Mwemba and Gilbert Piri. The two lawyers have not given any reasons for withdrawing their legal services. Mr. KAMBWILI is now being represented by his Vice President, Joseph Akafumba. More in this report.
Two Lusaka prominent lawyers who are representing National Democratic Congress leader Chishimba KAMBWILI have ceased from representing him in two different courts. The two lawyers are Keith Mwemba and Gilbert Piri. This information came to light when the accused appeared before Lusaka Magistrate Court this morning in company of his new lawyers. When the opposition leader appeared before Magistrate Sunke Chanda, the new defense counsel Joseph Akafumba applied for an adjournment on condition that he needed to study the matter and get instruction from his client after his defense lawyers withdrew last night from representing him. KAMBWILI before Magistrate Chanda is facing a charge of contempt of court for obstructing or disturbing the course of judicial proceedings by tampering with the registration of his company. He is alleged in this case to have tampered with evidence relating to the registration of his company, Mwamona Engineering and Technical Services Limited, which is an active case before Principal Resident Magistrate David Simusamba. And speaking to journalists shortly after his court appearance, he disclosed that it was unfortunate that his two lawyers withdrew their services but thanked them for their effort.
I think it would be unethical for me to discuss lawyer-client relationship. I don't think it is right for me to divulge the reasons for their withdrawal. All I can say is that they've got a constitutional right to choose whether to represent me or not. But as you can see that the case will continue, and all we have to do is to find alternative lawyers. I want to thank them for all the job that they've done this far. It is unfortunate that they've left me, but they've done a lot. And what they've done is actually positive on the case. And I can only thank them for their services and wish them well in their future endeavors.
Earlier, the opposition leader appeared before Magistrate Felix Kauma, where the court was also informed that the two lawyers withdrew their services. However, Magistrate Kauma expressed disappointment with the conduct of the defense counsel after they withdrew from representing the accused without informing the court. KAMBWILI before Magistrate Kauma is charged with defamation of the president. In this case, New Congress Party President Peter Chanda sued KAMBWILI following media reports attributed to him alleging alleging that President Edgar Lungu's presidential plane allegedly carries illegal drugs. The NDC leader also alleged to have questioned the head of state's relationship with Lusaka businessman Vauden Finlay, whom he accused of being a drug lord. The accused is expected to make his next court appearance in November 2020 for his trial in both courts. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Mwenilunga Member of Parliament Newton Samakai says the suspension of the Kalumbila District Town Council is nothing but mere politics at play, as it has no legal standing. Mr. Samakai explains that the law is clear that any citizen can go to the council to appreciate any developments being done in a particular location. Mr. Samakai says the councillors at the council did not break any law by inviting UPND National Chairperson Mutale Nalumango to visit some developmental projects the council had embarked on. On Thursday, government through the local government minister Charles Banda announced the suspension of the council on account of undermining the PF government for allowing the UPND to tour some projects being implemented by the Kalumbila Town Council. Mr. Samakai has since urged UPND lawyers to take up the matter in the courts of law.
The suspension of Kalumbila Council has no legal standing. It's purely political. Because in his statement, he's saying that by the council inviting Honorable Nalumango, they are politicizing the provision of service, which is not correct. Any member of society, any community leader or indeed national leader can go to the council and appreciate what the council is doing in its jurisdiction. I don't think there is any offense in one going to the council and asking the council to show him or her what the council is doing. If the council has time, they can do that. They don't have to ask for permission from the Minister of Local Government. In fact, in his statement, the Minister of Local Government has referred to the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, Article 152, which states that the Council is responsible for all programs and projects in its jurisdiction. This is in line with the national decentralization policy, with the powers that are given to the council by the decentralization policy and by the Constitution. And the council was in line with these provisions of the law.
Health Minister Chitalo Chilufya says it's encouraging to note that COVID-19 cases have continued to decline. Dr. Chilufya has attributed this positive development to continued adherence to health guidelines by the general public and government's continued interventions. The Health Minister has since disclosed that government has continued to set up more laboratories that will help in carrying out conducting COVID-19 tests countrywide. Dr. Chilufya has meanwhile disclosed that in the last 24 hours, the country has recorded 28 new cases of COVID-19 out of 1,323 tests done, bringing the cumulative numbers to 14,830, with 19 patients discharged and 21 in hospital, with 7 on oxygen.
As the numbers drop, let us not drop the mask. As numbers drop, let us not drop our guard. Indeed, numbers are dropping countrywide, but it is time to heighten our adherence to public health measures. As numbers drop in our hospitals, let us not drop the mask. As numbers drop in our hospitals, let us not be complacent. COVID-19 has wrecked the economy, distorted our lives, and we have this imperative of returning to where we were, normalcy. And therefore, as we run the last mile, let us avoid resurgence. we could have a resurgence if we continue dropping our guard. Conduct 1,323 tests, and out of these, 28 were positives, and these were picked mainly in Lusaka and Kasama. And in our hospital facilities today, we have 21 patients with 7 on oxygen, and these are on the Copper Belt, Lusaka and Eastern Province and Luapula. We further discharged 19 patients. We continue to see numbers reduce, even outside Lusaka, in our inpatients and as we conduct community screening. The number of deaths has remained at 333, and recoveries have been at 13,980 out of 14,830.
We take our last set of commercials. Do stay with us as we have international and sports news. Don't go away.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant save nations to develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy-saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise. It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump has mild symptoms of coronavirus after he and his wife tested positive for the illness, the White House says. Mr. Trump's chief of staff said the president was on the job and in good spirits, adding that he expected him to make a quick recovery. The news comes just over a month before presidential elections, where he will face Democratic challenger Joe Biden. Others close members of Trump's family have tested negative. Officials said this process of tracking all the president's contacts in recent days was ongoing, adding that Mr. Trump was considering how he might address the nation or otherwise communicate with the American people on Friday. On Thursday, the first couple said they intended to self-isolate after one of Mr. Trump's closest aides, Hope Hicks, tested positive. Soon afterwards, they too received positive test results. We have a roundup from BBC.
In the last few minutes, it's been confirmed by President Trump. He has tweeted to say that he and his wife have tested positive for coronavirus. This just in the last 10 minutes. US President Donald Trump and the First Lady saying we will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately.
Yeah, he was referring to last night, the tweet came through, or just a few hours ago, Hope Hicks, who is one of his colleagues, he said had been working so hard without even taking a small break, and he had tested positive, terrible, and that's when he said he was waiting for the test results for him and his wife, and then beginning their quarantine process. But now this news just in the last 10 minutes, this latest tweet came out.
Let's go straight to our North America correspondent, Peter Bowes. Good morning to you, Peter. So, as we speak, the situation was that they were in quarantine. This is a dramatic development.
Oh, this is a huge development. This is the President of the United States and the First Lady, as you say, saying that they have now tested positive for the coronavirus. They're in quarantine. There's a lot we don't know. We don't know whether they're showing any symptoms, what level of the disease that they are experiencing. But what we do know, of course, from the experience of everyone else that's suffered from coronavirus, is that this won't be a quick process in terms of the quarantine and the recovery, and everyone is different. This is a man in his 70s. He is known to be overweight. He has some of those conditions that the experts say make it more difficult to recover from coronavirus. That's not to say that he isn't going to make a full recovery, but coming almost exactly a month before polling day and a full schedule of events that it seems, at least at the moment, that the president will be unable to carry out any of those engagements. He was due in Florida on Friday night. Clearly that isn't going to happen at a rally, and there's a huge question mark over the rest of the campaign and possibly over the election process itself.
Peter, give us a little bit of background, because what we did know was that Hope Hicks, who's one of his closest advisors, had tested positive, which is why they were in quarantine.
Yes, and that news emerged earlier in the evening, and it was first reported by US media outlets citing their sources. It was then President Trump himself in another tweet earlier who confirmed that Hope Hicks had in fact turned out to be positive for the coronavirus. He said that was terrible, and that was when he first revealed that he and the First Lady had gone into quarantine. We know that Hope Hicks is one of the president's closest advisors. She is in his inner circle. She's a former communications chief at the White House. She then went out to work in the private sector for a while. She then returned to be this close advisor to the president, amongst many others. She travels a lot with him, twice just in the last few days, to Minnesota for a rally and for the debate in Cleveland on Tuesday night. She was part of the president's entourage. She traveled on his flight on Air Force One. She was in very close proximity with him and other key figures in the administration. The White House said earlier that contact tracing was being done and relevant people had been informed, and we can only believe that that involves some very high up people in the Trump administration at the center of US government.
Peter, I understand, of course, that this confirmation that Donald Trump, people will be just tuning into us this morning. We have had that confirmation just in the past few minutes. President Trump tweeting to say that he and his wife have both tested positive for coronavirus. We understand from the White House doctor that Donald Trump will carry out his duties without disruption. I mean, immediately, and I know you're trying to digest this at the same time as we are, there will immediately be concerns for him personally about his health. I mean, that is primarily, this is a health story about him, and there are then so many implications as to how this will affect process.
We now get into sports news. And in sports news, Zambian female football sensation Barbara Banda scored a hat-trick to guide Shanghai SHENGLI to a 4-3 win over Wuhan in the second round of the title group of the China Taiping CFA Women's Super League. Wuhan were the first to strike just 9 minutes into the match. Malawan star forward Temwa netting the close range after being put on goal by Wang. Shanghai will level 4 minutes later as Barbara Banda pickpocketed a defender in the box and slaughtered past the Wuhan goal minder. SHENGLI took the lead a minute later as Barbara Banda set up young midfielder Sheng for after an easy tap-in. Wuhan were handed a chance to equalize when the referee gave them a penalty, but Wang hit the crossbar in the 27th minute. 6 minutes to the Barbara Banda grabbed her brace with a close-range finish after her initial shot hit the post. Barbara completed her hat-trick in the 73rd minute as she outpaced the Wuhan defense to find a well-timed buyer headed in Wuhan's third 10 minutes from the time, but it was not enough as Shanghai managed a 4-3 win. That sports item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a look at the headlines once again. KAMBWILI says President Edgar Lungu behind privatization inquiry targeting to settle political scores with HH. KANYAMA residents call for an extension of the NRC'S issuance. John Howard residents demand for the immediate reopening of market. And in international news, US President Donald Trump and wife test positive for COVID-19. And in sports news, Zambia's Barbara Banda's third hat-trick takes Shanghai SHENGLI to the top of the table. The Camnet World News verse of the day is coming from the book of Psalms 13, verse 5 to 6, and it reads, "But I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me." On behalf of the entire news production crew and myself, Liseli Kanyanga, thank you so much for watching. God bless.